Jakl Den. Welcome. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. We are here again for podcast 32. We are talking today with Kyle Steeves, who is one of the Jackals players. We're excited to be joined by him. We're going to get into knowing where he came from and who he is in just a moment. First, I want to talk about some of the stuff we have going on. We do have another big game coming up this Sunday. We're playing the Seattle Seawolves here at Arlington at Choctaw Stadium. So we have another tailgate. Now, this time we have something special. The Jackals administration have reached out to some of the other local rugby clubs in the area and have put together a special event that is hosted by an organization called Boogie Brothers. They have reached out to 5 or 6 different rugby clubs in the area. They're going to come down. There's going to be a barbecue. There's going to be drinks. There's fundraising events. It's going to start at 4 p.m. as always, 2 hours before kickoff. This is going to be a different location. Our normal tailgating spot is in that Lot E right across from the entrance. This one is going to be a little bit further south of us, just up the road there at the Jackals office. It's going to be 1901 Stadium Oaks Court. Basically, if you're parking in Lot E or parking in Lot L, if you walk out onto that street where the stadium is and you head south about a block, you won't miss it. Jakl Den's going to be there as well. We'll have all our signs up. We'll have our scarves for sale and all of that stuff. Now, we do also have 2 events coming up for the next away game on June 2nd. We play Seattle, then we have a bye week, and then June 2nd, we're out of town playing, I believe, New England. I'll double check that in just a second. But that will be June 2nd at 1 p.m. We're having the Jakl Den watch party at Northside Beer House, Draft House in Richardson, like we did last time. And then the Jackals are having their official watch party again at Dr. Jekyll's Beer Lab. If you get a chance to get down there, please let us know how that rucked up beer is. We haven't had a chance to try that. We were hoping they were going to sell it there at the stadium. They didn't this last game. Maybe they will this next one because I'm interested in trying that. Other than that, we always have the scarves available, $15. They're fantastic. They're great material, and make sure you get them before it gets too hot because they don't do you much good when it's 120 here in Texas. But other than that, let's jump into this. So Kyle, man, I did a little bit of digging from what I could into your past. Do you know you have a Wikipedia page?
I do know I have a Wikipedia page, and it was quite a shock to me. I was very surprised by that.
There's about 4 sentences on there, but
and I think 3 of them are wrong actually. So it's pretty funny.
I'm glad you told me that now, so now you can correct me. So here's what I gleaned from that. So, born in 2000, up in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yeah, correct.
Went to school at St. Paul's High School, where you started wrestling before you got into rugby.
Yes.
I believe there were a couple of U18 and U20 teams along the way, but then played with the Manitoba Wombats and the Pacific Pride before coming over to Dallas. Mm-hmm. And you actually made your debut against Namibia, kind of an international game, which is fantastic. I want to ask you a little bit about that. Now, I did find this really cool little blurb on one of the other websites that I've got to read because I think it sums up a really cool history here with you in rugby.
Okay.
So it says, rugby standout Kyle Steeves helped lead Team Manitoba to a 4th place finish in the Rugby Men's Under-18 Sevens Nationals in Edmonton. As one of the co-captains of the team, Kyle was also part of the Prairie Blizzard U19 team at the 2019 Canadian Rugby Challenge, where he was voted the top player on his team. His strong performance also led to a training camp invite for the National Under-20 program, which he attended. That is very cool. So there has been kind of a good solid history of moving through some different teams up there in Canada. Kind of how'd that go?
Yeah, so pretty like the rugby in Manitoba, where I'm from, is not the biggest thing, but the community is very tight. Like it's a very well-knit community. So if you're involved in one thing with rugby, you kind of have to get involved with another thing. So if you want to play more rugby in Manitoba, doesn't matter if you're a 15s or a 7s player, you just kind of have to go for it. So I'm a prop through and through. I have never played another position. I am built like a prop. I run like a prop. So playing 7s, I was just one of the bigger kids. I think it was harder for them to tackle me. So that's why I was all right at 7s. But I don't think I could get back in that game now. And then for any of the other stuff, for a while there was the Prairie Blizzard for Manitoba and Saskatchewan. So it was a combined team for the 2 provinces. Which was really cool. And again, that like Saskatchewan has a rather small rugby community as well. So I know most of the guys from all those leagues and all those teams and stuff. So I played a couple of years with the Prairie Blizzard. And then, I remember that there was actually a tournament in Newfoundland and Labrador, St. John's, that I got invited to with Prairie Blizzard, and that was my kind of, I think my biggest standout performance with the Prairie Blizzard, and that's kind of what got me sort of on the radar for Rugby Canada. So after that, I attended a camp in, I think it was Calgary. We had a camp in Calgary, and then everything kind of went from there. I made the U19 squad for Team Canada, and then I had an unfortunate ACL injury, so that kind of shut things down there. And then I came back from that and just decided that it was time to go for it. So I moved to BC, Victoria, BC, in 2021, and started playing. I actually just moved there to play for a club team, just because I wanted to see how well I could do. Because at this point, I had that invite to that camp. I thought things could maybe continue, but I didn't really have a scope as to how far I could go with it. So I just wanted to kind of give it everything, bet on myself. So moved to Victoria, BC, started playing with the Castaway Wanderers, and I didn't actually end up playing a season game with them. I played a preseason match, and then got noticed by the Crimson Tide, which is an island group team.
Okay.
And they play in the Coastal. Is that the Coastal Cup? I think it might be the Coastal Cup.
Okay.
That's a competition basically around the island and the mainland in BC. So there's a couple of different teams. There's UVic, UBC plays in there as well. The Vancouver Wave, and then the Pacific Pride, as well as the Tide. So it's a good little competition. A lot of really high talented players there.
Awesome.
And then I played that tournament with that team, and then got picked up by the Pride immediately after, and I played my season with them. So that was
cool.
It was a rather quick jump from Manitoba into sort of the high level rugby there. So,
and what's crazy, and this is coming from someone that I traveled plenty in the military, but you don't really, when you travel in the military, it's very different than actually getting to see other places. I could say I've been to Newfoundland, but that means the plane landed at 1 a.m. and they refueled off the plane to the smoke area while they refueled the plane, and we got back on and left. I didn't get to see any of it. But what's funny is you talk about traveling all these places in Canada, and in my head I see this map, and I imagine it's a long drive to get from Dallas to Phoenix. When you talk about moving around the different areas for games and matches and whatnot, I mean, am I thinking of this right? That it could be a 12-hour drive. You talk about from one province to the next. Could be a day's worth of commute from one to the other.
Yeah, it is a lot, and especially in terms of, again, that Prairie Blizzard style setup where you have a team from Manitoba and Saskatchewan that kind of have to be combined. Training sessions are a lot more difficult that way because say half the team is in Winnipeg and the other half of the team is in Saskatoon or Regina. You just kind of have to find a middle ground, or someone's got to suck it up one weekend and drive all the way to the other province, which is tough. But yeah, Canada is rather large, and so my family actually did a lot of road trips when I was growing up. So I've driven coast to coast a couple of times in Canada, and that's I love it. I love road trips. Me and my dad go on road trips all the time. My dad actually drove with me from Winnipeg down to Dallas, so that's about a 20-hour drive, and I have my car here, which has been awesome. But yeah, I drove out to BC when I went for the last season. Drove all the way back home, drove down here. So
wow,
it's a lot of time to put into something, but thankfully I enjoy it. So
sometimes that's good. I like some of those long drives. You get to you and the radio and nothing else, and especially, you get those stretches where there's no cities and no one else around, and you kind of just get yourself to talk to, and you get that it becomes a zen kind of moment, which is nice and kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So part of what I found here. So rugby wasn't your first sport; it was wrestling before rugby. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. So what kind of made that transition for you from one sport to the next? What made you think rugby and go into that?
Well, to be honest, the rugby thing was always kind of in the picture. I did start wrestling first, but I think that was only because wrestling was first in the season compared to rugby. So I started
Okay.
wrestling and rugby in grade 9 of high school at St. Paul's.
Okay.
And rugby started in the spring, wrestling started kind of in the fall. So
Okay.
I started with wrestling, and then they both kind of went hand in hand through high school and first couple years after high school. But rugby for me was always kind of a part of the plan. I grew up, I have a brother who's 5 years older than I am.
Okay.
And
so wrestling is something that happened growing up in the family.
Oh, we had some great matches in the living room of the house. Pretty sure we almost broke a couple of couches and TVs and everything. But yeah, so my brother started playing in high school, and I remember going to watch his games and thinking that it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, and that
Awesome.
I'm allowed to hit someone as hard as I can. That seems awesome. So yeah, I got into it as soon as I could. And then, yeah, I fell in love with rugby. I still love wrestling. Like if I had the time to go to trainings and stuff, I definitely would. I think it's a great skill to have to kind of transfer over. Just being able to move your weight around and being physical and aggressive, it's awesome. I think it's one of the best translation sports. So,
I was kind of thinking that when you mentioned it, I was thinking that in my head that, you have to learn how to quickly control your opponent too. And there's one of the big differences when I talk to people out here of why I'm a rugby fan over a football fan. And with football, you have so many pads on and it's just one hammer hitting the other hammer. But with rugby, you really have to take into account where you're hitting, how you're taking them down. Because if something goes wrong there, the penalties are so severe. So you really want to make sure it's controlled. So I imagine that foundation of wrestling, of how to quickly control the opponent, really comes into play nicely with rugby, as well as the endurance of being able to have those back to back so much for 80 minutes straight on a rugby field. I imagine having that endurance coming from wrestling really helped out.
Yeah, I was definitely the fittest I ever was when I was wrestling, because you have to go 3 rounds and then recover in 10 seconds and then go again, which is tough. But yeah, I think it's just super valuable. Like, for tackling was my strong suit when I was coming through like the age grade stuff in Manitoba and up through Pride and everything. And that definitely came from wrestling, like just being able to sink a hard double leg shot at full tilt. So
yeah,
that was always great. Yeah.
That's very cool. So let me ask you, so you've been down here in DFW with the Jackals for, I think this is your second season. I believe you signed originally January of 23, re-signed in end of 23 for this next season. So comparing the two, I imagine that DFW is completely different from kind of at least the climate of where you're used to. But how's that transition been? What have you liked and disliked about where you come from and where you are?
The climate, yes, absolutely. The heat kills me every single time.
We don't have real winters the way that you're used to down here.
No. The guys always make fun of me because I love the ice baths after training sometimes. So I'll just go and sit in there for a couple of minutes and enjoy it.
Reminds you of home.
Yeah, pretty much. And I've got so I'll go sit in the ice baths, but I am dying on the field in the heat. There's a solid two weeks of the year up in Winnipeg where it's just a consistent minus 40. Which is pretty tough, but I've been enjoying Dallas and Fort Worth and kind of the DFW area. It was definitely a culture shock last year, like coming down for the first time and just not knowing anything, like entirely new space. And I'd done that before when I moved to Victoria, but I think the nice thing about traveling anywhere with rugby is that immediately you have a team of guys that you can just like hang out with. So I was really lucky to come into a squad with a bunch of really awesome guys and just get to know everyone really quick, and then things just kind of fall into place. So you get a good lay of the land pretty quick, and things have been going great. So
now the Jackals have a pretty solid, a pretty good Canadian membership right now, with Brock and Richardson. Who else that I've had on that I'm not thinking of at the moment? Dewey.
Dewey.
And some of these other guys. With all of your travels when you were younger, did you cross paths with these guys? Did you know any of them prior to coming down here?
I think me being from Manitoba kind of like stopped me from meeting a lot of those guys.
Okay.
They're also a couple years older. I'm born in 2000. I think the next youngest person close to me would probably be Brock, and I think he's like a 97 or something like that. So he was always a couple years older through all that age grade stuff. But even when I got to Victoria, I met a bunch of the guys. Like Dewey, I had known for a while. He was around when I played Pacific Pride. He was just on his way to Dallas for his first season.
Okay.
So I met him briefly. But guys like Mitch and Liam and Brock I actually just met for the first time this season. So he came down and we've just kind of connected. You know, we've just got all the things to talk about being from Canada. So, but like, yeah, Liam and Mitch, I met for the first time on tour with Team Canada. So,
oh, that's awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So now you mentioned some of the road trips and whatnot when you were younger. Is that something you've kind of brought down here too? Have you gotten a chance to hop in the car and explore a good bit of Texas?
Yeah, actually, I went.
Did they give you time for that? I guess is a big question too.
Well, we had last bye week. I had some time. I actually drove down to Houston and saw I saw the Space Center.
Oh, cool. Okay,
that was cool. I didn't do much else in Houston actually. I just went for the NASA Center, so that was cool.
Very cool.
And then I drove to Waco just this last weekend. I saw a concert with my roommate Cam. So
awesome, awesome. That's cool. Hopefully, you get a chance to explore more. My wife and I moved out here in 2013, and with the kids coming along shortly after, we haven't had a chance to even explore much, but we're hoping to go do some of those day trips that are around as well. So what else kind of occupies your time off the pitch? What kind of, is there a hobby or interest that you have?
I'm a big fan of movies. I'm a bit of a nerd, so I love Marvel and any sort of comics. Lord of the Rings is a big one for me.
Awesome.
So me and my roommate Cam geek out on that all the time. I think we've watched the trilogy of Lord of the Rings about 3 times together in the last year. So there's that. And then recently, actually, it's kind of a weird niche hobby, but I got into leatherworking somehow. So I ordered some stuff on Amazon, and I made some wallets. I don't have anything near me, but yeah, it's kind of fun. It just kills time. And other than that, hanging out with the boys is a good thing. Go out for a drink when you got the chance.
Yeah. It's very cool that they have you guys in this setup there where you're all staying close together. So you have some of the pictures and whatnot that are posted online. You have the pool there and the barbecues and you have it outdoors. So it's not just go back and walk into your room and close the door. You actually go out and spend time together and socialize with each other, which is great.
Exactly.
That's very cool. So being in DFW for a little over a year now, you mentioned going out and going to drink or go out to dinner and whatnot. What are kind of some places where you go? Without giving away any secrets? I know you've got groupies. I don't want them to be able to stalk you, but what have you found in your local area that you enjoy?
Local here, there's one of my favorite spots actually that I try and get the guys to go all the time for food. There's this spot called Heim Barbecue that's like just on Magnolia Street, close to us here.
That name, okay.
I love it. It's so good. I could eat there probably 3 meals a day for the next year. I would be probably the heaviest prop in the league, but that's okay.
You got to be careful with the Texas barbecue places.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, there's a couple of good local bars kind of like just around the corner from us, which is awesome. So I know all the guys like going there after games and just kind of hanging out, having a couple casuals. So
they really got you guys in a great location out there, and that's fantastic.
It's awesome.
I'm glad they did. Yeah. So let me ask you about training this year and how things have been going with that. So we had a bit of a management shift from Santiago to Kuka this year. Nate Osborne coming in. How have things been this season compared to last with some of the workouts and training and the endurance and things like that? How's that shifted?
I think in terms of like on-field training, I think we have a really sharp group this year. Like Kuka is always super, super passionate about the game and everything. So he always brings a lot of fire into everyone when we're at training, which is awesome. And Nate does the same thing. He's just a super tactical guy. I love him. Like I love them both as a coach. I think they complement each other really well. Good. Which is on field, that's great. And then off field, I think we have an amazing setup as well. Like the guys this year are just vibing really, really well. Everyone's got a really positive attitude. Everyone wants to work hard, which is awesome. So it's good signs all around.
And I have to say, it's definitely has showed on the pitch. I think we had a fantastic start off to this year with some serious wins, and I mean, really really giving the hello to Anthem with like a 40-point spread was phenomenal. It was a great way to start off.
Yeah.
And the first win against LA was fantastic. And I mean, it's definitely shown how this team came together very quickly, which is really cool. And like you mentioned, I think that's one of the great things I love so much about rugby is there really is a family mentality with the team and with and not even so much just within the team that you're playing for, but it's almost like the guys that you're playing against. It's like we're going to hang out, high fives, have a good time. I'm going to go mess you up for 2 hours, and then afterwards, let's go get a drink.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of the same that it was up in Canada as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I think I said it earlier, but like the rugby community in Manitoba is very small. So I get support from being one of the only players to come out of Manitoba to play professional rugby, and especially in this league. I get an overwhelming amount of support from the people back home, which is amazing. Like guys from clubs that I don't play for, like we have the Wombats, the Assassins, the Saracens, Wanderers, Wasps, all those teams. But I know guys on all of those teams, and they're all lovely people. Like they're just some of my absolute best friends. And yeah, but when I go home and play against them, I'll give them everything I have. I'll play as hard as I can, and they'll do the exact same. But then, yeah, we'll go for a beer afterwards. We'll hang out, have a good chat, ask how things are. So,
sorry about the black eye. Let me go make you a sandwich.
Pretty much, yeah.
I love that. So, there was other question came to my mind, and I just spaced it, but it'll come back. Why a prop the whole time? Has that just been based mainly off? You mentioned it. You mentioned your build made you perfect for that. Is that kind of what you have always? Is that where you've always wanted to be on the pitch, or it's kind of that's the puzzle piece that you best fit to?
I think it's kind of a combination of both. Like I was a bigger kid in high school, which I think kind of draws you initially to that role of prop. And then with the wrestling background as well, like I think it gave me a big bonus in the scrums, kind of being able to manipulate the guy in front of you. And I enjoyed the challenge of a scrum. Like I like kind of being able to figure out what I have to do in order to give myself the advantage in that situation. And I don't really want to go on a diet. I mean, I love eating healthy and everything, but like I'm the coaches like it when you carry a couple extra pounds as a prop. So that's okay.
Hey.
But yeah, no, I love playing prop. I got to do all the good stuff on the field. I'm in lineouts, I'm in scrums. I get to do open field play anyways. I can carry the ball, I can tackle. I basically get every part of the game as a prop. So that's the way I like to look at it, I guess. So
that's fantastic. I like that. And it is. I mean, you have a lot of fun. And I tell you, I mean, in seeing our scrum work this season is phenomenal. But in even watching the highlight reels and watching and listening to commentators, the biggest thing that the Jackals have done, and to what you were just talking about, is our lineouts into our mauls this year have been unstoppable. And I really think, I mean, having players like you up there able to push that and drive that forward have been amazing. And it really has shown how beneficial that is. So that's excellent. So no way in the back kicker. That's not what you're trying to be.
No, I don't think so. Maybe when I'm 40 years old and still want to play club rugby, I'll jump in the back somewhere.
When the MLR brings you back after winning a couple World Cups.
Yeah, hopefully. That's the goal.
So now let me ask you this. So are there any players on other teams that you consider kind of that celebrity that you'd love to meet, that you want to not just play against, but get a chance to talk to? That you haven't yet, maybe.
That I haven't yet. I think,
or I guess we've played just about every team. So I would say, even if you have, but ones that you were excited, you're looking forward to.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to playing against New England. There's a big Canadian presence on that team, and I know a lot of the guys there. And yeah, all those guys are awesome. Like I love playing against the Team Canada guys. I still have so much to learn from all of them. Like I'm still only got one cap against Namibia. I got like 5 minutes off the bench, which is what it is. I did my job. I got on. But yeah, no, I love playing against those guys because they're in the position that I want to be. I want to be playing all those games at that high level, the way that they can do it. Like, yeah, there's just a lot of really good talent all around the league. Like I got to meet Nonu and Matt Guido when we played against San Diego, so that was really cool. But yeah, no, I'm excited to play against all the rest of the Canadian guys. So
that is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, I this has been fantastic. I appreciate it. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I thank you for everything you guys have been doing. Is there anything else that you want to throw out there, last minutes, kind of last thoughts to the Den, to your fans, to your groupies?
No, I thank you for coming out and supporting. It means everything that we have people there to watch us and cheer for us. I hear everyone in the crowds when we're playing. It gets me fired up. So yeah, we'll keep working hard. Thank you very much for all of your support. It's very appreciated. Does not go unnoticed. So
excellent. Well, thank you. We'll keep supporting you. I'm going to let you drop off. I'm going to talk for a few more minutes. So, Kyle, I appreciate you coming by. Please give our best to everybody else there. Keep up the good work, and we will be cheering for you on Sunday.
Will do. Awesome. All right. See you later.
Take care. Here we go. All right, Jakl Den. So a couple more things to finish up with before we call this one a night. We did have that big game against LA. Didn't go the way that we planned, but that's not a problem. We learned a lot from it. We have a lot of the boys getting back in shape, getting out over some of these injuries. They'll be back on the pitch. Can't wait to see what the lineup is against Sunday when we play Seattle. Seattle's going to be a good game. When we played them up at their home turf a couple weeks or a month or so ago, we really did phenomenal. It was one of the games where they only beat us by 2 or 3 points. And we're looking forward to that same kind of thing this time with the tables flipped. We'd love to beat them by a couple of points at least. I'm not going to throw out any predictions this time. We're going to see how things go against that. But a lot of respect for these boys that are getting out there and getting beat up every week and getting back on the pitch to do it again for us. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up with this. Again, the game is on Sunday, 6 p.m. at Arlington, playing Seattle. Our tailgate starts at kickoff is at 6. Tailgate starts at 4. It's going to be in that different location, 1901 Stadium Oaks Court. It is kind of just across the street from the new Rangers Stadium, still very close to the to Choctaw Stadium. We look forward to having you guys there. If you need scarves, bring down some cash or let us know. Shoot us a DM. We're happy to help you out in getting those. It'll be 15 plus shipping if we got to ship it out to you guys. Let us know what other kind of things we can do to help you guys stay entertained. Looking forward to seeing you all there and cheering along with us. Thank you very much for tuning in. You guys have a good night, and we will talk to you next week.